and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to At America. My name is Adila, one of the e-guides here in At America. I hope everyone is staying healthy and safe today. If you're new here, At America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. Our event today is GED test preparation, reasoning through language arts. But before we start the event, let's spice things up with a little trivia. Our trivia for today is the two primary reasons for developing the GED test were the number of American men being sent overseas to fight in World War II before they could complete their high school student education, and the number of people leaving school early to join the largely industrial workforce. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you all to our facilitator, Zakaria Shadkam, GED qualified instructor. Zach, the time is yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Hello and welcome everyone to yet another session of GED Prep Class by At America. And this is session 12. I hope you can see my screen. In the previous 11 sessions, we talked about these topics. And in the previous session, to recap, because as you all know, in the previous session, we did not have the time to go through parts of speech, and that's why you have to today. So I will try to go as quickly as possible. If at any point you feel I'm going too fast, please let us know in the chat box, and also ask your questions in the chat box. And if you have external questions, please ask them through the Mentimeter code that I have provided and you can see on the screen. Okay. In the previous session, we talked about verb tenses, and we said that in any language, if you want to speak properly or if you want to be understood properly, you have to follow some rules to talk about the present, the past, and the future. So in English, there are 12 verb tenses, active ones, of course. We're not counting conditional ones and passive voices. So active 12 verb tenses for active tenses or active voice. So we have simple, progressive, or continuous. We have perfect and perfect progressive or perfect continuous. We use all these four types for the past, the present, and for the future. If we want to talk about the past and use simple terms, we use it to talk about something that happened at a specific time in the past, and then something that is done and completed. So please do let me know, do you have my voice and can you see my screen? Sorry, there was an interruption here. So for the past, if you want to talk about something, you use the second form of verb, which is verb to. We said that a verb has basically four forms, which is the basic form, second form, past participle form, and present continuous, so the ing form of the verb. So we use the second form of the verb for the past. For the present, we use the basic form of the verb. Let's just call it be. And for the future, we use helping verbs like will, shall, and going to. So for the future, for the verb form, we use the basic one as well. If you want to talk about something in the past, as I said, something that is completed, you say something like, I played this is a subject. I played football yesterday. If you want to talk about the present, you say something like, I play. Sorry, I think that my handwriting is getting worse every day, or day by day. And if you want to talk about the future, so I play football every day. And if you want to talk about the future, you say that I am going to play football tomorrow, or I will play football tomorrow. And also you could say, I shall play football tomorrow. The difference between shall, will, and going to. I explained the difference between will and going to. I said that if you have just made a decision about something, that's when you use the will. And if it's a decision that you have made in the past and you are just expressing it to someone, that's when you use going to. I will play football tomorrow if this is something that you have just decided, and if it's something that you decided previously or in the past, then you could say, I am going to. Shall, of course, is more formal. And if you use it in question, if you want to ask interrogative sentences or questioning sentences, that's when you say, shall I do something? This is more formal. And it's if you want to have a suggestion or receive something, oh, shall I do this? Shall I do that? That's when you want to use. Of course, you could use should as well. But shall is the proper one and it's more formal. You can even say, I shall play football tomorrow. But that's too formal and you don't use it every day. Anyway, you say, I will play. And if you go to progressive, maybe I should try a line, something like this, so that you all don't get confused. What did I do? Okay, so if you want to talk about something, the duration or happening of something at a specific moment, that's when you use progressive tenses or continuous tenses. For the past, you could say, and because we need helping verbs for progressive of the past, we use the past form of the to be verbs, which is the second form or the only past form. When I say past form, do not go to being. So I, and then you say was. We said that for I you use was. For the present you say I am, but for the past you say was. And then you add ing to talk about the progression of the moment. I was playing football yesterday at 4 p.m. Or someone asks you, oh, why didn't you reply to my text? Or why didn't you answer my call? Then you could say, I was playing football. Oh, when did you call? Oh, yes, I noticed that you had called after finishing the game. And at the time that you called, I was playing football. So, and for the present, you use the present form of to be verb, which is I am. For instance, right now, I am instructing, I am teaching, I'm talking about verb tenses. That's when you say, I am playing. Okay, I have to do something about this handwriting. So I am playing. This is the present, and you want to talk about something that happens, something that is happening at this moment of time, now. I am playing, for instance, if you are playing something, I am teaching English. This is something that I'm doing right now. And for the future, again, you say, I am going to be playing, or I will be playing. So for the future as well, we will need two types of helping verbs. We will need will, or going to, or shall. But we also need the to be verbs. And we can use be as well. Or maybe be is the only one that we can use actually. So then you should say that I will, and then you say be, and then you say playing. If we maybe, so this is subject plus verb, and either the first form or the second form. But for this one, you have subject, and you certainly have to be verbs, the progressive ones, to be verbs, which is are, was, were, and be, been. For the perfect tenses, if we want to talk about something in the past, then we have to use the past form of to have verbs. We have subject and we have had. Oh, okay. And we use had. Subject plus had, and then we use verb to have verbs, maybe I should say, because to have verbs. Because for the present one, we will be using have. So to have verbs, it doesn't really matter whether it's have, it's has, or had. And if you want to talk about the past, as I said, you use had. You have to say I, using the same sentence with the same example. I had played. Let's say football. I had played football by the time you came to my place. Means that the action was done before something else. And this is usually used in that situation. You say that, oh, I had done my homework by the time you asked me to do them together. So this is something you could say in that situation. The next one is for the present, and as I said, for the present, to use to have verbs. The have or has. I have played. Just as I explained on Thursday, you use present perfect tense usually to talk about something that happened in the past, or something that started in the past and still happening, or something that was that started and finished in the past. But right now, you see the effects, and that's why for instance, I gave you the example of you have lived in Indonesia. That means that you might know a few things about Indonesia. You might know the Indonesian language, the national language of Indonesia, or you might know people in Indonesia. So, you have been. This is something that you could use for living in Indonesia if you want to talk about, if you want to focus on the duration. You could say this is for the progressive, get there. For the future, so again, you use either will, or going to, or shall, and then you say I will, and then you have to use to have verbs. I will have played. This is something that you could say maybe, oh, or maybe someone tells you, maybe your moms do that. So maybe your mom asks you, Urzu, to do the dishes. And then you say that, okay, I will have done the dishes by the time you arrive, or by the time you get back. And for this sentence, I will have played football by 4 p.m. today. I hope that's not the case. I hope you are here and you attend the GED session and complete it. And don't go around playing football instead of attending this really fruitful session. Okay, for the progressive tenses, perfect progressive tenses, you have to use subject and use to have verbs. To have verbs. But you also use been, which is the third form of to be verbs. So if you are talking about the past, you use had. No, I had. I had been playing football for 3 hours before they asked me to join their team, and that's why I could not play. This is something you could say. Again, this is used if you want to focus on the duration of an action. In the present, you could say, I have been living in Indonesia, I have been learning English, I have been reading books. This is also used, the present perfect progressive tense, if you want to focus on the duration. And that's when you say, I have been playing football for the last 3 hours. Someone asks you, why are you so tired? And you could say, I have been playing football, I have been working out, I have been, doing the chores, I have been walking around. What else tires you? Yeah, I have been reading books. Something that is boring and tiring at the same time for some people. Okay, for the future one, you use I. For this sentence, you say, I will have been. So that's why we said that. It doesn't really matter which time or which point of time you're talking about, which moment of time you're talking about. You have to use subject, and you have to use to have verbs, and you have to use been. So for the future as well, you'll say, I will have been playing and this is, again, use this if you want to focus on the duration of the action. Okay, this is session 11, and if you have any questions, feel free to go on Mintmirror and ask your questions through this code, or if you have any questions about this session, please ask them in the chat box. Now, today's session is the continuation of the previous session, and as you know, this is again language and grammar. We know how to read nonfiction, we know how to analyze them, we know how to read fiction text, we know what fiction text consists of. So we know everything about those things, and now it's time to kind of focus on the grammar side of English language. So parts of speech in any language, as I said in the previous session, words are categorized based on their function in the language. It doesn't really matter what sentence you use. Using the previous sentence, and let's make it complicated. I will have been, for instance, playing football 4 hours. No, 4 hours by the time you arrive. So this is a future perfect continuous tense, and you want to focus on the duration of the action. That's why I have used this time, 4 hours. And it doesn't really matter what sentence it is. So each word in the sentence belongs to one of these. So if I say they are numbered. So I'm just going to write the numbers. So I is a pronoun, and it's used instead of my name, right? So, and will is a verb, but it's auxiliary verb or helping verb. So will is a verb. Have again in here is auxiliary verb. So again, verb. Will is modal auxiliary and have is just auxiliary. Been, again, is helping verb or auxiliary verb. It's verb. Playing, it's the ing form of the verb, it's verb. So football is a noun. For, as we all know, for is used to connect sentences. So for is actually conjunction. What number is it? 7. And this for, again, it's a number, and we know that it's a noun. Ours, again, noun, but it's plural. By, again, conjunction. So there is a determiner. Number 9, time again, it's a noun. You is pronoun. This is used instead of your name. And arrive is verb. Verb, what number is it? Why have I written in here? 1, 1, and 3. I hope you get the point. We are going to go through them one by one. And if at any point you have any questions, please do let me know in the chat box. So the first one is noun. Noun is pretty simple, basically name, and it's a person, a place, or a thing. And there are different types of nouns. You have personal nouns. You have common nouns. Let me change the color of my pen. So for instance, you have common nouns. You have proper nouns. These are they belong to one group. So you have, for instance, you have a collective noun. You have a countable noun. You have uncountable noun. I'm going to explain them one by one. Please do not worry. Again, you have, if you want countable nouns, they have plural and single nouns as well. So you have concrete noun. You have abstract noun. And what else do you have? I think compound nouns. Now let's not include them here. They are really easy. Just know them, they're not. Okay, for common and proper nouns. So we said that noun is name of place, person, or thing, or people, places, things. So common noun, it's a noun that is used to talk about. It talks about, it's so common that it can be used for a group thing. For instance, you have city. City is not a particular noun. And then it's non-specific. It doesn't really matter which city we're talking about. We can call all of them city. And then you have proper noun. Proper noun is name of a specific person, a specific place, or a specific thing. For instance, if you want to say a specific person, John is a specific person, right? For the place, Jakarta is a specific place. And things, usually they, for instance, like movie names, name of books, and proper nouns are always written, the first letter of a proper noun is always written in capital letters. So, for instance, you have Jumanji. I don't know the Jumanji, or Jurassic Park, or those things. Jumanji is the name of a game, I think, as well, and also the movie franchise. So collective noun refers to a group of people, a group of things. So you have things like team, and they act as singular, by the way. So team, if you want to use it in sentence, team is used with singular verbs. Now, my team is much stronger than yours. So team, you for birds, you like flock, like herd, right? You get the idea. Countable nouns can be counted. You can count them. Like person. Person can be counted. So you say one person, two persons, three persons, four people, five people. So countable nouns can be counted, and uncountable nouns are mass nouns. They cannot be counted. It's impossible to count them like water. And countable nouns, if you are talking about a singular noun, then you use the basic form of the verbs. For instance, with the addition of s, of course. So if you want to talk about one person, John, for instance, is a singular noun, and it's countable. Like if you want to talk about one person or someone, each person, they're all singular. So you could say that anyone who plays. So anyone, of course, it's a pronoun that's used instead of people's name, but it talks about only one person. So you say that, okay, one person broke into my house. And if you want to talk about the plural forms, then you say, two people. Can is a modal auxiliary verb, and it's always used in a space form. So two people play well. Two people are stronger. So that you get the idea. It's really that if it's one person, one of something, you use the singular form of verbs, and if it's more than one of something or two or more, of course, if they are countable. And for uncountable nouns, you use singular verbs. Water is tasteless. Of course, cold water has its own taste. So the temperature plays a role in the taste of water. But anyway, so you could say that, the milk has gone bad. You don't say the milks have gone bad. Of course, you could say this in a sentence where there are different types of milk, and you want to talk about all of them. But if you want to talk about, even if you have a big box of milk, and you want to talk about that box, so the milk in that box only, you use singular verb. Noun, easy. Name of person, place of thing. It doesn't really matter. City, book, camera, John, Jim, Tim, your own names. So the next one is pronouns. Pronouns, they replace nouns. For instance, in this sentence, I said we had John. Oh, concrete and abstract. Sorry for doing that. Concrete nouns are nouns that you can feel them, see them, touch them, hear them. They can be experienced through one of our five senses: sense of touch, smell. You could say car, book, camera, John. John is a person. Jakarta, Indonesia, it doesn't really matter. Abstract nouns, they are more like ideas or social theories or social beliefs or maybe social norms. You could say beauty. Beauty is an abstract noun. Beauty is subjective. And you have like happiness. Happiness. You can see someone being happy, but you can't really see the happiness itself. Happiness itself is more of an idea. Or sadness. Okay, so pronouns, they replace nouns. If you want to talk about John, no, John is playing chess right now. And if you want to continue the sentence and say, oh, he, he is going to lose. We know that he in here has replaced John. So the types of pronouns, you have different types of pronouns. You have personal pronouns, you have indefinite pronouns, you have distributive pronouns, you have reflexive pronouns, you have relative pronouns. There are different ones, but the most important ones are personal ones. So for personal pronoun, you have subject pronoun and you have object pronoun. So personal pronoun. So you have subject and you have object. So for subject ones, they replace the subjects of a sentence. We have I, we have we, you, they, you know, she, he, it. When we want to use them as objects, so the objects of sentence, we want to use pronouns to replace object of sentence, we say, instead of I, we say me, right? You have me, for we have us. For you does not change. They change to them, she, her, he, him, and it also remains the same. So you have personal pronoun, and then you have possessive pronouns, which is nouns they use to show pronouns they use to show possession or ownership of something. Again, you have two types. You have my, mine. This is subjective, possessive, subjective pronouns, and this one is objective. So my, mine, our, ours. You have as your, you have yours, there, you have theirs, you have her, hers, you have his is the same here, and you have its, and its does not change. You don't usually use this one. This one is not that useful. And then you have pronouns like reflexive pronouns. You have, myself. The idea here is that it doesn't really matter what type of noun you use. There is always something. There is always a pronoun to replace that noun. So if you want to talk about using reflexive pronouns, or in this case, let's say you have a sentence like I am fooling myself. In this sentence, as you can see, the subject and object of the sentence are the same. So myself, yourself, or yourselves, if you want to talk about more than two people, more than one person, if you want to talk about two people or more, you use yourselves. themselves, or in today's age, themselves, I think, is also going to become part of the reflexive, relative, and emphatic pronouns. So anyway, you have pronouns, they replace nouns. And then you have verb. Verb is an action or state, something someone does, or a state that someone is in. If you want to talk about an action, you say that, again, using the previous sentence, I play, in this case, chess. Right? Play is an act, an action. It's something that is done by this person, me. And then chess is the object of the sentence. And if you want to use verbs as states, you say I am. I am, happy. In this case, am is a verb and it's a state. You have different types of verbs. You have helping verbs, primary verbs. But in any sentence, you have to have a verb to make it a complete sentence. So for adjectives, they describe noun. For instance, let's use John. John is a noun, and if you want to describe John, John is terrible. John is terrible. Let's not make John himself a terrible person. John is terrible at chess. Terrible in here is actually used to describe John's ability of playing chess. Oh, the flower is beautiful. The flower is beautiful. In this sentence, flower is described by the word beautiful, and beautiful is the adjective of the sentence. I am looking for a good book. In this sentence, good is used to describe the noun book. Pretty simple. We have adverbs. For adverbs, we use adverbs to describe verbs and adjectives, and also other adverbs. For instance, if you want to describe a verb, you say I played well. I played well. Well in this sentence is the adverb of the sentence, and it's used to describe play or modify the meaning of play. So play itself is a verb, so playing well, kind of, it's a modified version of this verb. Because I played chess, I played chess well. So I played really well, very well. We'll get to that. So we said that describes verb. In here we can see that well has described play, which is a verb. But the next one we said that it describes adjectives. I played a difficult so in here you can say that terribly. I played the difficult game terribly. In here, it's also described this one. And then you have something like I am, for instance, you could say I am very happy. You could say that. I am very, again, sad. In this sentence, you can see that very is the adverb, happy is the adjective, very is the adverb, and sad. And here is the adjective. We said that it can also be used to describe, or it also describes another adverb. Where you could say fast is both an adjective and an adverb. You say that, okay. I am very fast. I am very fast. In here, it's an adjective. And I can run very quickly. So in here, we can see that very is describing the adjective fast. And in here, we can say that very in here is describing the word quickly, which is again another adverb. Now let's go to the next one, which is a preposition. For the preposition one, we have words that we use to link a noun with another word in a sentence. It doesn't really matter what noun you have. You can always use prepositions to connect them to other words in the sentence. So if you want to, you have prepositions for places, of course, for time as well, but let's just focus on simple sentences. So we say that, I am going to mall. In here, we can see that going, which is another word in the sentence, is connected to this noun. I am, or maybe I should use some helping verbs. I can jump onto the roof of this car. In this sentence, we can see that onto is the preposition, and it connects jump, which let's call this another word in the sentence, with the roof of this car. The roof of this car, of course, is the noun that it is connecting or linking to the other word in the sentence. And you can say that I'll arrive at 10. I will arrive at your place at, for instance, 10. And then we can go to the football stadium to watch the Champions League final. Okay, I'll arrive at your place at 10. In here, this at, by the way, is not a preposition. This at, however, is. This at actually connects your place in this sentence to arrive, but this at is just used to talk about time, to specify it's an adverb. So now, the next one is conjunction. Conjunctions, they basically join clauses. They join clauses. We have independent or dependent clauses. Independent clauses, they are complete sentences on their own, but in dependent clauses, they're not. And they join sentences or complete clauses or words. You can say that my friends and I my friend and I will play football tomorrow. I don't know why all these sentences today are about football. Play football tomorrow. In this sentence, we know that and is the conjunction, and it's used to join these two words. And you have conjunctions like but. If you want to connect two sentences, you can say that I want to get my GED. I want to get my GED diploma diploma. This is one sentence. But there is no prep class to prepare for the tests. Worry not, there is one. Okay, so in this sentence, you know that but is used to connect one sentence with another. For conjunctions, you have conjunctions like but, like whenever, wherever you have like either, neither, although, however, also. All of those are really, there are too many. You have subordinate, by the way, and you have coordinating, and you have correlative conjunctions, of course. But those types, for instance, if you want to talk about coordinating conjunctions, they are really simple. I remember this acronym from maybe 15 years ago. The acronym is FAN boys. So each of the letter stands for a conjunction. Fanboys in this one stands for cool. A stands for and N stands for nor, B stands for but, O stands for or, Y stands for yet, and S stands for so. I think if you remember the acronym fanboys, you'll be fine remembering the conjunctions. I think that is it. So for interjection, So interjection is basically a sentence or a word that you use when you want to show excitement. And you have words like, wow. And they are usually followed by exclamation marks. This exclamation mark. Or the exclamation mark. So, wow. Whoa. Right? Oh. And then they're followed by like, wow. That is a great workout. Whoa. Whoa. I wasn't ready for that. Why did you push me? Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. So there are short explanations. And also you have the last one is a determiner or article, and they limit or determine nouns. So for instance, if you want to talk about a noun that has not been talked about, so determiners you have for articles, you have a, you have an, and you have the. And then for other ones, you have things like this, that, those, these, right? So determiners, they actually determine what noun limits the kind of the range of nouns that you talk about. For instance, you say that I want to buy a phone. And here, phone is a noun that is talked about for the first time, and you don't know what type of phone you want, and then you go on and then you say, oh, the phone that I want to buy, the phone that I want to buy should have these specifications or these specs. That's when you use the. And they are used, of course, for singular nouns, for one thing or one place, one person. And the can be used for both singular and plural. You know, the books that I have read are amazing, or the books that you gave me. Oh, can I borrow a book? And then someone gives you a book, and then, oh, this book is boring. I have tried reading it. I almost put myself to sleep. Oh, those cars are really fast. I think that is that, but we do have enough time. And that is, okay, great. I think we're done here. Now for this one, let's do this together, even though there is no timer here. But please, let's do this together so so all of us can learn something. So the first one, but this sentence tells you which of the following words is a concrete noun. We know from this slide, if we go back to this slide, we said that concrete nouns, they can be touched, they can be felt, they can be seen, they can be heard, they can be smelled. You can basically sense them through one of the five senses. So if we say which one of the following words is a concrete noun, run, it is a verb and a noun. Car, it's a noun. Speed, we know that it's a noun. But is speed concrete? Of course, you can see something being fast. Two is not even a noun. So, a concrete noun is a car. The next one, number 2, which of the following words is an action verb? We said that verbs can be, there are different types of verbs, by the way. You have intransitive verbs, transitive verbs, you have action verbs. And for this one, if you look at the verbs, in this sentence, is also a verb. It's a helping verb, but it can be used as the primary verb of a sentence or the main verb of the sentence as well. N is not even a verb. Cat is not a verb, it's a noun. So jump, and also it's an action verb. Do it, right? So you act it. That's why cat. A is the correct answer for this one. B is for this one. So number 3, if you know the response, by the way, feel free to write them in the chat box. So wherever you're watching this. So which of the following words is an adverb? We said that adverbs, they describe verbs, nouns, or another adverb. Okay, so which of the following words is an adverb? Fantastic, we do have a response. We know tall. Oh, sorry. We know tall is an adjective. So not this one. Quick, again, is an adjective. Should is not even an adjective or adverb. Should is an auxiliary verb, a modal auxiliary verb. You have shall, should, can, could, may, might, must, and also ought to. Those are modal auxiliary verbs. So for this one, for adverb, you have beautifully. Ah, you played beautifully, right? Very beautifully. Okay, so which of the, number 4, which of the following words is an adjective? Okay, for number 4, A, you have noisy, B, noisily, noise, and been. Great. So now, let's figure out the wrong ones too, right? Been is not an adjective. Been is actually a verb, and been is the past participle form of to be verbs. You have SMR and be. They changed to was and were on the past participle, and the past participle form of was and were is been. Now noise is a noun. Noise is not an adjective. So noisily, we know that. By the way, usually adverbs, they end in ly. And usually they are adjectives changed into adverbs. So noisily, like in a noisy manner, right? So, and then you have noisy itself. And as you have written in the chat box, yes, A is the correct option. The correct answer for this, for the question number 4. Number 5, which of the following words is a preposition? We said that prepositions, they are used to join or to link the noun of a sentence with another word in the sentence. Now, let's go through them. Ouch. Ouch sounds like an interjection. So, nope, not A. Will, we know that will is a helping verb or auxiliary verb, and we use it for future tenses. And also, will means you have to have the determination of will. It's also a noun, but it's not a preposition. Cat, we know cat is a noun. And over, we know that if we make a sentence for this, we know that over is a word that links the noun in a sentence with another word. So option C is correct. Yes, you've got it right. Well done. Now we have question 6. Which of the following words is an interjection? So interjection, we said that interjections are basically short exclamations. should, like excitement, maybe like really kind of either excitement, extreme forms of extreme form of excitement or sadness or disappointment. There are phrases and words that you can use to express in those situations, and they are usually followed by oh, sorry. I think there is a mistake in here. So which of the following words is an interjection? Okay, through, pencil. Okay, let's just make this one. Interjection. So we have through, we have pencil, we have me, and we have please. Please, right? Short exclamations, and you could add the exclamation mark there. This is not very specific, by the way. Through, we know that through is a preposition. Pencil, we know it's a noun. Me, we know that it's a pronoun. And please can be the only option that we can categorize as interjection. Now, number 7. Yes, well done. Yes. So number 7, which of the following words is a pronoun? We said that pronouns are used to, pronouns basically, they replace nouns. So now, tolerance, we know it's a noun, and also it's a proper noun because, you know, the first letter is written in capital. Inside, word, oh, him. Inside is a preposition, you know, inside this house. And we have would. Would, we know, is one of the, of course, I did not talk about it. Okay, so auxiliary verbs, I think it's time that I talk about it. It's something that I should talk about in here. So I have to talk about auxiliary verbs or helping verbs. Okay. So which of the following words is a pronoun? Tolerance, we know that. Yes, well done. I have got one correct response. So which of the following words is a pronoun? Tolerance, we know that it's a proper noun, and it's a personal noun. Proper noun used for a person, and probably it's the name of someone. It's the name of someone. Inside, we know it's not a pronoun. Inside is either, it can be used both as adjective and adverb. Not adjective, both as preposition and adverb. Would, we know, I told you that it's auxiliary verb or helping verb, and him is the only one that you can replace, that you can use to replace a noun. So yes, as you said, him. Option D is the correct one. Now, number 8. Which of the following words is an abstract noun? So we have option A, have been. First of all, abstract nouns. In this slide, when we talked about all different types of nouns, we said that concrete nouns, they can be touched, felt, smelled, heard, seen, right? Abstract nouns, they cannot be seen, they cannot be felt, they cannot be smelled. You cannot really, they are intangible, basically. So now, which one do you think is intangible? Have been is not even a specific pronoun. Jakarta, we know that it's a proper noun, it's a noun. Fat, we know that it's an adjective. And option D, beauty, is the only one that can be considered an abstract noun, a noun that is abstract, a noun that cannot be attached or seen. So now let's talk about auxiliary verbs. This is the slide that I have. This is the last session, by the way, that we are going to focus on the grammatical side. In the next session, we are going to, of course, I think it's not going to take a lot of time. We will only spend maybe around 20 minutes to talk about punctuation marks. And then in session 13 and 14, continuation of, after we have talked about punctuations, we will go on and talk about reading comprehension, non-fiction or fiction. And also in the last two sessions, we are going to have some quizzes, test feedbacks and tips and all the next steps. So in today's session, if we have enough time, which I think we will have, we'll go through verb tenses once again, and I will ask you to write down different sentences, because I think this is the last slide. Yes. So for parts of speech, you have auxiliary verbs, which is a type of verb, and let's write down here verbs. You have different types. You have main verbs, helping verbs. Main verbs. So in any sentence, it doesn't really matter what sentence you have. A complete sentence, of course. You have a main verb. In this sentence, if I say, I am at home, we know that in here, am is the main verb of the sentence. It's a state verb. And if I say, I teach English, which one is the main verb? Teach. I can do it. In here, do is the main verb. I am talking to you. In this sentence, talking is the main verb. It doesn't really matter if it's a complete sentence has a main verb. The next type that we have, which I think is very important for you all to know, let me just erase this whole slide, the inks on this slide. For auxiliary verbs or helping verbs, basically you have you have kind of principal auxiliary verbs. Let's call them auxiliary verbs type 1, auxiliary verbs. Let's call them 1. Number 1, you have to have verbs. To have verbs, you have to be verbs, and you have to do verbs. Remember, if you know what to have verbs are, write them down in the chat box. If you don't know, it's fine. So we are going to start from to be verbs because they are, the more popular ones, the ones that non-English speakers hear about first and recognize them first. To be verbs, they are a state, verbs of state, and if we use them as helping verbs, they are basically is, are, is, are, and then you have for the past form you have also be, by the way. Be is MR, we have was, and we have were. And for the past participle, we have been. To have verbs, we have has, we have, and for the past form we have had, and also for the past participle it's had. To do verbs we have do, we have does. For present forms of to do verbs. For the past we have did, and for past participle we have done. Right? These are the auxiliary verbs type 1. Now let's talk about type 2. The second type of auxiliary verbs or helping verbs are can, could, shall, should, will, would, may, might, we have ought to, and also you have to, has to. So had to. So it's going to be very small. Had to. These are the modal auxiliary verbs. So when we say auxiliary verbs, it basically mean the second verb in the sentence. If we go and have a look at this, for instance, if we look at this sentence, I will play football tomorrow. Let me change the color maybe to bright blue, or light blue. So if I say I will be playing football tomorrow, let's ignore my friend. So I will be playing football tomorrow. We know that play in here is the main verb in the sentence, so the primary verb in the sentence. We know that football, of course, is the object of the sentence. Tomorrow is a time expression of time. But what is will doing here? Will is actually helping the primary verb in this sentence to talk about the future, to specify the time. And if we go back and talk about maybe verb tenses in here, then we know that. So we had in here, we had. What is had doing here? We already have played, right? We have a verb. We have the verb that we want to talk about. It's an action. We know that person did it. Why do we need had? To help the main verb of the sentence talk about the time, basically express the idea that we want to express more clearly. Now, auxiliary verbs, again, these are auxiliary verbs, and we also have we must. Yep. We have must, and also I think need. Okay. So can, could, shall, should, will, would, may, might, ought to, have to, has to, had to. They're all auxiliary verbs. So these are usually called principal auxiliary verbs, and this group is called modal auxiliary verb, and the last one I have forgot the name. Cool. So now If you want to use to have verbs for the present tenses, it doesn't really matter which tense it is. If you want to use to have verbs as auxiliary verbs, we use the present one for the present. But by the way, for simple tenses, we do not use auxiliary verbs, right? So we use the present ones to have verbs for the present. You could say present perfect. You could say that, I have done this. I have read this book. I have tried this training. And you use to have verbs for the perfect tenses. Let me maybe change the color of the pen so it does not confuse you. So you use to have verbs. You use to have verbs for perfect tenses. It doesn't really matter which perfect tense you have. If you are talking about the present, you use present perfect tense or present perfect continuous tense. That's when you use have or has. I have been doing this. I have done this. If you want to talk about the past, past perfect tense, you say, I had done it. I had read this book. I had played football. And if you want to talk about the future, you use the modal auxiliary verb will or shall going to also should be added here. So I have to write it down somewhere here. Going to. Okay, so now if we want to talk about progressive tenses, that's when we use to be verbs. Progressive tenses. It doesn't really matter whether it's present progressive tense, past progressive tense, or future progressive tense. It doesn't really matter if it's present perfect progressive tense, past perfect progressive tense, or future perfect progressive tense. We use to be verbs. So we said that, for instance, if I use it for present perfect progressive tense, we say, I have been doing this. If you want to talk about present continuous tense, you say that, I am doing this. If you want to talk about past progressive tense, I was doing it. If you want to talk about past perfect progressive tense, I had been doing it. If you want to talk about future perfect progressive tense, you say, I will have been, right? So for progressive tenses, it doesn't really matter which tense it is. It's progressive tense, we use to be verbs as helping verbs. To do verbs, they are used mostly to kind of change simple tenses. Let's maybe make it something like this. So for simple tenses, specifically simple present, and simple past. Simple past. Because usually in simple present and simple past, you only have the subject, the main verb, and the object of the sentence. You say, I went to school, right? So there is no helping verb. There is no way to change that sentence into a question without using help from to-do verbs. That's why they're called helping verbs. So for simple tenses, for the future, it's fine because you have will, right? You say, I will play football tomorrow. And then someone asks you, will you play football tomorrow? I will go to school tomorrow. Will you go to school tomorrow? I am going to play football tomorrow. Are you going to play football tomorrow? Right? So for future tense, it's fine. Future tense is fine on its own and can deal with the problem single-handedly. Continuous tense, of course, they're fine as well, because if you have a sentence saying that, okay, I am teaching English right now. Am I teaching English right now? And if you have past progressive tense, I was talking with my friend. Was I talking with my friend? So the simple tenses, like simple present tense, simple past tense, future, I said it's fine on its own. So for simple present tense, you might have a sentence. I don't want to erase it, but I think I have to do it in order to make some space for the examples. Want to. For instance, if you have a sentence like I talked to my friend. Now, this is a simple past tense sentence. If you want to change it to a question, if you want to ask about, if you kind of make this a question sentence or interrogative sentence, then we have to use help from to-do verbs. And we said that for the past tense, we use did. And for the present tense, we use do and does. So I talked to my friend, and if you want to make this a question, we have to use, because it's a past sentence, we say, did I? And in that case, the main verb changes back to its base form. We use the base form of the main verb. Did I talk? With my friend. And then add a question mark. So did I talk with my friend? This is, thanks to to-do verbs, we can change simple tenses into questions as well. If you have a simple present tense sentence, for instance, I teach English. Do I teach English? He sings well. Does he sing well? Right? So we cannot change simple tenses, present tenses. So present tense sentence, simple past tense sentence into an interrogative sentence without using the help of to-do verbs. For can and could, can is used to talk about ability. I can do it. I can do it. Do is the main verb. Can is the helping verb. I could do it. And when you have these modal auxiliary verbs, you do not need any extra modal auxiliary verb, any extra helping verb. I could play football yesterday. Play football tomorrow. But if you have like have to and has to, or had to, then you say, I have to play football today. Do I have to play football today? It's a simple present tense, of course. I had to do it yesterday. Oh, did you have to do it yesterday? Right? So I hope you get the idea. And with that, the session ends and we have 5 minutes. If you have any question about any grammatical point, please feel free to ask your questions in the chat box. And if you don't have any question, then great. I hope you enjoyed the session and I hope you learned something, and see you on Thursday. By the way, please do visit the Notion site in order to learn more about what resources you can use and stay updated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation today. I hope that everyone gained a lot of insights from today's session. We would also like to thank our facilitator today for sharing your knowledge with us. Don't forget to follow our social media for our event updates, fun content, and so much more. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at AT America. You can also subscribe to our newsletter for more updates from us. All right, with that, it is time to say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sadila, and see you at the next At America event. Bye bye.